We had a project recently under the NNF, Nature Network Fund, which I got in 2021, to do some work to clear scrub on the golf course. And the golf course is actually quite big, and a lot of it has been abandoned and had grown scrub up over the years. And I have a very good working relationship with the course manager, and he and I managed to get lots of things to happen, and we cleared loads of scrub. Do you know the biggest problem I have in that? NRW forestry people took 9 months to approve removing a whole lot of ash and sycamore and other nasty scrub, despite the fact that it had been completely consented by the SSSI team. And at the very end of the day, they wanted me to go out and get an environmental impact assessment for the boarded facility. I couldn't even spell it right. And I, at one point, threatened to give the money back, publicly. And then I had various bits of NRW trying to persuade other bits of NRW that Simon needed an felling licence very quickly, otherwise he was going to get rather cross. So we got there in the end, but we have a problem. We need to follow it up with grazing. We have tried grazing some of it, and I'm working with someone who uses cattle with GPS collars, but you can't put GPS collars on the small calves, and the golf course, not surprisingly, don't want cattle running around the greens. We put in for another grant to get some fencing, but we were unsuccessful. But we're plodding on, trying to do this, because so much of it is there's going to be a robo-mark clearing some of it on Monday, which I'm looking forward to seeing. So we need to get the grazing back in that part of the world to make it work. The Wildlife Trust hadn't managed to graze it for some time. They did all the scrub cutting years ago. The violets came back with abundance. They really were good. That's what it looked like. That's what it looks like now. It's covered in scrub, and not only do we want scrub clearance, but it wouldn't be a bad idea if we had some bulldozers. And if the quarry company who owns the place wanted to restart quarrying, I would say, yes, carry on. I put some sheep there. These are Hebridean sheep, which don't ever touch Hebridean sheep. They are disastrous. They will stand next to a normal fence, and from a standing start, jump straight over it. That's not clever. You don't want sheep like that. You want sheep. But I used to love my cattle because they had very short legs, and they didn't jump anything. But the sheep, these sheep are hopeless. We bought wether lambs, that's castrated lambs, and we kept them there for years. And they would either go up in the gods, on the slopes, to get away from the dogs and the flies, or they would go in the woods to get away from the dogs. And the fact that it's a great place to go and empty your dog, like this one. So people come there and they empty the dogs, and the dogs chase the sheep, and it's all nightmare. What I really want now is to put some cattle there with big horns, and hopefully we've got permission to do that. I need to just make it happen. We've got to sort the fencing out, but hopefully next summer we'll try and get some cattle with big horns. And I want to have a picture on the entrance site of a poodle or something impaled on the bone of a dog, just to say, keep your dog on a lead, please. So, we got these contractors. It was great. We had loads of money to spend, got some wonderful equipment, we got all sorts of things. But we tried to graze this by putting an electric fence around and putting some sheep in, but it was too quick. We didn't get it's difficult to get people to bring livestock. It's very difficult to, I'm fed up with keeping livestock. I've been keeping livestock for nearly 50 years, and I just don't want the hassle. I don't mind going to help my friend with her carrots out, but it's working with people who want to do it. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to work with someone called Helen Upson, who has a herd of ancient world cattle. She's we've now got her grazing something like 30 acres of other wildlife sites in the area. I wanted to put, including parts of the golf course that are fenced. The golf course is actually her main holding. And I'm looking forward when they come up and they say, you can't have SFS for golf courses. And they were one time they were going to say, you can't have SSS for SSSIs. That was ridiculous. But golf courses might be more of a problem. Because actually, it's her home farm. We moved her to the golf course. She has a flying herd. You know, she moves them around all the time to different places. And it's quite difficult to manage, but she doesn't pay any rent, so she effectively gets free grass, and the beef is wonderful. So we also engage with the local children. That's something Butterfly Conservation is absolutely keen on, is trying to get people involved. And these kids, we had a big problem with Himalayan balsam, and these kids came up from the local primary school. I gave them a talk first, and they made a great big pile of Himalayan balsam, which was wonderful. And we put an interpretation board up. We had this is the Grazing Animal Project with these lovely cattle, and we are working on trying to make it happen. I am involved in, just as a volunteer, trying to get money for the fencing, trying to get more landowners, trying to get more surveys done. I'm talking to people about yet another reintroduction of pearl water fertility. There's a wonderful man in Shropshire who is very good at breeding them. But we'll get there. We have a little butterfly group, which is basically an email, a list of emails that people have consented to, otherwise I get into trouble. And it's only on my computer. And basically I've given up putting dates in the diary to lead butterfly walks, because you can guarantee that that day is going to be absolutely tipping down. So I look at the weather forecast, and weather in radar on the weather on your phone is absolutely brilliant. And on a Monday afternoon I say, Thursday morning we're going to pre-seed, we're going to look for silver stony blues, which we do. Or we're going out surveying for pearl water fertility at some of the neighbouring sites. And that works. So we do field trips and we show people butterflies and get people involved, and the list gets longer and longer, and it's great when more people turn up. And that's how I encourage people to sort of get involved. No membership, no, just give me your email address, my card, send me an email, say, put me on the list, and they can come if they want to. That's really good. Now, are we going to be able to reverse this unbelievable, I've been looking at butterflies since 1951. I wasn't completely aware in 1951 of what the situation was on butterflies, but certainly there were an awful lot more about then than there are now. And we've lost so many different sites. In 1980, there were 100 pearl water fertility sites in Wales, and now, Alan, is it 6 or 8?
6.
6. It wasn't long ago it was 8. And some of those are threatened. And can we get money to do something about it? No. So, what's the future? We need to get the politicians to come up with some sort of answer where they pay for good environmental farming policies. Everything's going one way or the other. It's going more intensive or it's being abandoned. And we've got to get rid of that dichotomy so that we bring them together and you have proper management which is worthwhile. Have I got any time?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the same all over Europe. You've got farming, the tractors are getting bigger, and if it's not commercially viable, they just leave it. So the wonderful hay fields in the Pyrenees that I remember years ago, the ones that are ploughable, they plough, put maize in it, and the stock have gone because all the shepherds and all the farmers, most of my farming neighbours, who I've lived amongst for 50 years, are still farming, and some of them are over 80, and they're often farming on their own. Now that's not clever. And it's very difficult for any young person to get in, because to buy a farm, you're talking, some of the farms exchange hazards, 6,000 and 7,000 pounds an acre. That's ridiculous. And it's very difficult to make profit out of it. So, and also, more and more farming is going into sheds, and it's less, you know, out there in the fields doing useful stuff. I travelled a lot in Europe, and you know, I was chairman of the Butterfly Conservation's European Butterflies Group for its first 12 years. I've got some calendars to sell over there because it's one of the things we do. And I spent a lot of time going to different places in Europe and looking and seeing what happens. And still, in some parts of Eastern Europe particularly, you get traditional farming practices that work and are continuing. A lot of them, the land is either abandoned or it is becoming intensive. And you don't want either. Now, it's very difficult. You know, this is jolly hard work. It's a lot more hard physical work than getting a bloody great machine to dry granite quickly. And often, you know, I've got a grandson who's a tractor driver. He's often still doing silage at 3 o'clock in the morning, because if that's what, you know, they start in the afternoon, and if it's going to rain tomorrow, they carry on. And they've got the lights and the GPS, and he's very, very particular. He doesn't wear his boots inside the tractor. Very keen. Now, the European Butterflies Group specialises in helping our colleagues in Europe who are interested in butterflies go and do surveys in different places. We write up, we have a magazine twice a year. We do this calendar which we sell to make some money. Very cheap, 8 quid. Butterfly Conservation, not doing one at all. 15 quid for 2, and I've got about 6, so come and see me afterwards. We do surveys. This is what we're really good at. So I get a request from Simona Benelli in Italy. Simon, we've got this problem. We've got someone, there's a field where this rare butterfly, the Euphydryas paternal, the scarce fritillary, was found in Italy. It was the only site in Italy. And because it's not on the list for Italy, it's not protected. And there was a guy in a camper van collecting as many as possible. That was a bit of a problem. It wasn't there when I got there, because he'd obviously got enough. But we got there, and we took a small group, and we did surveys in that patch, and we found it in 4 or 5 different places in effectively a 10-kilometre square around there. It's an absolutely gorgeous area in northern Piedmont. David goes there every year, don't you? It's good. Are they still there, David? Good. Nice butterfly. One of my colleagues saw it doing something most peculiar, walking into flowing water. It went to have a bath. Never seen that before in any form of butterfly. I've seen them drinking water, but not actually walking into it. Strange. So we've done different things in different places. Much of what we've done is done in Southern Europe, because there are more butterflies in Southern Europe. There are less butterfly people. We don't bother with Holland. There's too many butterfly people in Holland already. But in Greece, there's only very few, and they're not particularly, well, they're wonderful, but there are not enough of them. So we've done lots of projects in Greece on things like the odd spot bloom and the very rare Gills graining. I did Gills graining a few years ago. Yeah, thank you. This is my friend Lazaros. Lazaros is the butterflies of Greece. He doesn't drive, he doesn't use a butterfly net. He's older than me, just, I think. He produced his book, which basically mapped the distribution of butterflies in Greece photographs of all of them. Used to take buses to the mountains, walk for 3 days, get another bus back. And he's been doing it all his life. He produced this book in Greek and in English, and then gave most of them away. Extraordinary man. He's a lovely character. We spent quite a lot of time taking him around the Greek mountains, seeing all these wonderful butterflies, and you know, he would camp with us, and we'd have a lot of fun. He's a great chap. But there are not many of us. So when you think about it, the butterflies in Europe are mainly associated with mountains. The red areas, so those are the Alps. You've got the area of the Pyrenees, you've got the Balkan Mountains, particularly the Greek mountains, you've got bits of central Italy, you've got lots of species, and they're almost always associated with some form of farming system, and very often that farming system is very under threat. It's changing really rapidly. We've lost 5 species. Belgium's lost 16 species. And in many other places, the grassland butterflies are declining. There's Chris Van Sweet's map of the, graph of the declining butterflies. They've got an index of grassland butterflies. That's the scarce heath in Germany. Lives on grassland, which has special use because it's cut very late in the year for bedding. This is the sort of situation you get in the uplands. You've got very steep hills, you've got meadows at the bottom where they cut the hay, and the livestock, sometimes coming from away, sometimes local, going up into the mountains for a summer period. So late May, early June, the shepherds go up into the mountains and to take the livestock with them. So there's very little livestock in the valleys. It's all in the hills. I found people making cheese, milking goats at 3,000 metres. That's pretty high. So most of the rare butterflies in Europe are in the mountains. They're associated with some form of agriculture. The hermit is declining because it's a butterfly which is almost always found in very, very heavily grazed places where the brown shepherd's huts and the corrals where they used to put them for the night. Very, very scarce butterfly now. So the whole point about this mountain agriculture is it needs some sort of support, and actually the Common Agricultural Policy is quite good on that. We've left it, but that's life. There's another thing which matters. You've got to have a product. There's no point in sending stock to the mountains just for no good. So the products are usually cheese. Mountain cheeses are very popular in France, very good. And the Appellation Contrôlée, the rules of the production system are very good at maintaining really good habitat for wildlife, particularly butterflies, because they're not allowed brought in food, which is the main thing, and they make hay. So you've also got lots of scree scopes, you've got a mixture of different types of habitat, you've got woodland areas, you've got grasslands above the tree line, you've got lots of different sort of ranges of places and different butterflies associated with those. So one of the things few people realise is that you can't put fences in snowy areas because they get damaged by the snow and the avalanches, and also in southern Europe you can't use wooden fences because they get hit by termites. So most of the grazing in a lot of these places is shepherded. So you meet this guy from Marseille, comes up with his pal, they spend 6 months in the mountains, they're looking after 5,000 sheep, trying to stop them being mown down by motorbikes and bicycles or whatever it is, and they always get blamed for it, apparently, it makes it very difficult. So we've got a range of altitudes, a range of different snow cover, You've got north-facing slopes, south-facing slopes, you get snow still in some places enormous, and that gives an enormously wide variation in habitat, which can be exploited by different butterfly species in different ways. And also, there's no fertiliser use up there, it's very natural grassland. You get masses of wonderful wild flowers, which are food plants, and particularly of different species. And there's a mosaic of scrub, grassland, woodland and rock. Great. I was supposed to go to the Alps for 6 weeks this year, and I hope to go next year. We just love it. So this is one of our places we go to. You've got this fabulous habitat, it's really good. And this hayfield is mown every year, and they make hay, and when the cattle come down for the winter, they're fed there. You've got people making cheese. That's a small-scale cheese factory. Where's that gone? In Greece. When I went to Greece first in '66, there were goats everywhere, and the shepherds used to go out, and they would take their big flock of goats up in the hills, spend the whole day with them, come back, milk them, make feta and cheese and yogurt, and usually hand milk. It's all gone now. There is one place that works. This is a country where they really care about wildlife and farming and the integration of the two. Can anyone guess where this is? They're using a hay rake.
Switzerland. Switzerland.
Yes! The most heavily subsidised farmers in Europe. And that works. And the trouble is, with world agricultural prices, with people growing protein crops and chickens in particular in factories using bought-in feed, these people cannot compete with that because it's very difficult to make a profit. So you have to subsidise it if you want it to work. But in Switzerland, they have a year-round tourist season. The grassland is mainly managed to keep the snow from forming avalanches, otherwise there would be a problem. The snow forms avalanches quite badly apparently on ungrown fields. So, lots of abandoned pasture in northern Greece. Ageing population of shepherds. Most shepherds are now over 70. No one wants to do it. People have brought their sheep indoors, which is difficult. They don't do much good in terms of grazing the scrub. You get places, this is a flat area on that Smolicas, where they're not Greeks, they speak a different language, and they come every summer from different parts of Greece to bring their flocks and graze, and it's actually overgrazed, because this is a different culture that's retained a different way of life. This is Mount Kalmos, which is well known for its fabulous butterflies. 20 years ago, covered in goats. Nowadays, almost none. It's not clever. Same in Hungary. A lot of the abandoned land was abandoned when the land was given back to the people after the breakup of the collective farms at the end of the communist era. But they've got no tradition of keeping livestock and no idea how to use it. So very often they would, I'll stop there at that point. They would cut the hay and have it baled, and then take the hay to an incinerator to make electricity. That's bonkers. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Simon.